This is how you get to 10% body fat. These are just some pictures of mine when I was around 10%. Not like some of these retard coaches who have never been 10% and just Photoshop their pictures, okay? So this was around September 2025. I got to 10% body fat, as you can see. So I know what I'm talking about. So let's go. Fucking go. There we go. Timeline. So let's say you are like myself, 18% body fat, like here on the left, sorry. If you fully lock in, let's say you have no cheat meals, you fully stick to the plan, you do exactly whatever you got to do, right? You don't cheat anything. It'll take about 12 weeks, okay? If you're between 18 to 20% body fat, around 12 weeks, okay? If you're more than that, it's going to take you a little bit longer, obviously. If you're less than 18%, it's going to take you a little bit less time. Now, having exact numbers in terms of what body fat you are, it's almost impossible because you could be 12%, but if the lighting is really good, you're going to look like 9%. You could be 12%, but if the lighting is dog shit, you're going to look fatter, okay? So these are just guidelines, okay? You look at this picture, okay, most of the time, 15-20%, okay? Not 20% because I've still got some visible abs, but not under 15% because they're not that visible. Here, I'm fucking, I wouldn't say shredded, but really, really lean. Definitely 10%. It's chest striations, shoulder striations, abs are popping, leg, a little bit striations on the legs as well. So 10%. Now, if you're eating well, 80% of the time, like most people, it will take around 20 weeks. Again, if you're around that 18 to 20%. Okay? If you're more, it's going to take you more. Warning, if you are skinny, if you're just getting into the gym, you don't know what a calorie is or macros are, this video is not for you. Click off. For you to get to 10% body fat and actually look decent, you have to have muscle, okay? This was my first time at 10% body fat. I had been training for 6 years before that, 6-7 years before that, okay? I had enough muscle. I am about 5'9", 5'10". I got to 72 kilos to get to 10%, all right? I hadn't been 72 kilos for like years before that, okay? Whereas here I was around 82, 83 kilos. So let's get into it. I mean, I'll explain this, right? You need to have some muscle first, all right? If you don't have it, then you're fucking stupid. So nutrition, this is the most important aspect when it comes to getting very lean. Again, very lean, not shredded, because shredded, in my opinion, is when you go and compete. That's just very lean, right? So these will be your starting macros. I want your carbs to be twice your body weight in pounds, protein to be 1 gram per pound of body weight, fat, I want it to be 0.3 grams per pound of body weight. All right. So example, if you're 180 pounds male, about 360 grams of carbs, 180 grams of protein, 54 grams of fat. Carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram, fats are 9 calories per gram. So your total calories will be 26 and 246. Now, how to make a meal plan? There you go. Go on ChatGPT, ask you to make a meal plan with the macros that you've got. Okay. So prompt it to split it into 4 to 5 meals, even 6 if you are a bigger lad, you weigh a lot and you need to eat like, let's say, 3,500 calories. Get it in 4 meals. It's quite hard. So 6 is okay. And list your favorite foods on there so it's specific for you. Don't be a dickhead and don't say I want pizza every day or pasta. Pasta is alright, but just don't be a dickhead, okay? 80-90% of the food that you want, 80-100% clean. The cleaner you are with your food, the faster your progress is going to be, okay? Now, these macros are rough guidelines, not an exact amount. The exact amount will depend on the person, okay? So for me, if I eat this amount of food, I'm fucking starving, alright? But you may be different. I've got my best friend Jake, he's heavier than me, and all that stuff. I don't want to say bigger because I don't want to give him that. He's actually not bigger, but he's heavier than me. But when he cuts down, he gets lower than me. He gets on like sometimes 1,900 or 1,800 calories. I have not been below 2,000 calories in fucking years, alright? I would die if I get there, alright? So, these are rough guidelines. Now, when it comes to like making changes to your food, alright? I want you to track your weight every single day in the morning. Fasted, ideally after a shit. Sometimes you're not going to have a shit, so that's fine. Just track your weight, okay? If you're losing anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds per week, do not change anything because this is a perfect rate of progress, especially in the first 4 weeks because you're going to drop a lot of water weight as well, alright? When I start cutting down, I usually drop like 3 to 4 pounds in the first week. Don't count the first week. Start counting from the second week. That's when it's going to slow down a little bit, okay? For some people now, sometimes there have been times I've dropped like 6-7 pounds in 2 weeks, alright? So that's gonna happen at the start. As long as you're not starving and fucking dying, then it's fine if you drop more, right? The bigger you are, the more muscle you've got, the more weight you're gonna drop at the start. Now, if you're losing less than 1 pound a week, alright, or you know, maybe even 2 pounds a week, especially if it's like less than the first couple of weeks, drop your food by 50 grams of carbs on the meals you feel the fullest after having it. For example, let's say your breakfast is quite big and you feel quite sluggish and full after that. Okay, your weight is not dropping, great, drop 50 grams of carbs from your breakfast, maybe it's dinner, whatever that is. Let's say you're losing more than 2 pounds a week, unlikely with these kind of foods. This is around maintenance calories, okay, for most people. But let's say you are losing more than 2 pounds a week, then increase your carb by 50 grams on meals that don't fill you up as much. For example, your breakfast is really light, so you feel like you can have more easily, add 50 grams of carbs there. Or what you could do, you could split like, you know, 25 grams of carbs here, 15 grams of carbs here, 10 grams of carbs here, whatever that is, okay? In the whole day, you wanna either decrease or increase by 50 grams of carbs. Ideally, you wanna keep most of your carbs around your training window. So when it comes to removing carbs, dropping carbs, try not to remove them or reduce them before and after training. Try to keep those carbs as high as possible for as long as possible. If you have to increase, again, unlikely, probably increase them there so your training performance will be better. Most of the time, you do not need to directly drop fats or protein. There's a lot of food that have carbs in them, also has some protein and fats in there. So let's say you've got some rice. Rice, even if it's a little bit, it still has some fats in there, still has a little bit of protein there. Same with potatoes, same with what else? What are the carbs? Like cream of rice, rice cakes. Rice cakes is a small amount, but you know, all this stuff that has carbs in there, even some fruit, right? They've got some trace protein and trace fats. So therefore, you don't need to drop them directly 99% of the time. Sometimes you may have to, but most of the time you don't. Don't worry about that. It's small, right? I cannot give you the whole fucking thing here because it's going to be like a 2-3 hour video and it can't be us. My attention span is not that long. Okay, just hire me at this point. I'm giving you the blueprint, but I'm saying like 95% of the stuff that you need is in this video. Okay? Now, cheat meals. The more you stick to the plan, the faster your results will be, but also understanding how a life. When I got to 10% body fat myself, it was for a photo shoot. So I thought, fuck it, I'm not having any cheat meals. Also because my coach told me not to have any cheat meals. So I'm like, cool, I'll do it. But understand, not everyone wants to do a photo shoot. Not everyone, you know, loves bodybuilding. No, fuck this, loves bodybuilding as much as I do. So it's fine. Maybe you just want to challenge yourself a little bit, or maybe you just want to get to that level at least once in your life. Cool, all right? Now, the truth is as well, right, most restaurant fast food is pretty much impossible to track, even if they come with the calories on the menu. For example, did they fry the food in the same amount of oil? You don't know that, maybe, or you don't know that. Do they have the same amount of sodium, the salt in there? Again, it's not calories, but it's going to affect your water weight and stuff like that. Are the chips, for example, the same amount all the time, the fries? You don't know that. If they're the same amount in terms of like grams, you know, do they weigh heavier because there's more chips, or there's more oil, there's more salt? You don't know that. At the toppings, let's say you have pizza and you know the stuff on top, the same 100% of the time, the cheese that you have on there, you don't know that. Did your mum use this exact amount of ghee as last time? You don't know that because you don't know what she used last time and the time before that. And if you ask your mum to track it and weigh it, she's gonna slap you in the face. So understand, right? You don't know that. However, let's do some simple math. If you have 5 meals a day, that is 35 meals a week, right? If out of those 35 meals, you have 2 or 3 that are not exactly tracked, I spelled it wrong here, who cares, but are being sensible with them, you will be okay, as long as you're not being a dickhead, okay? Let's say, you know what, your dinner has 650 calories, you go out, you have a pizza, it's probably going to be higher than that, right? But don't be a dickhead and have 2 pizzas, because that's going to be quite a lot, or have like 2, 3, 4 burgers. I've done it. It's not worth it, okay? If you think, 2 pizzas is a lot, I won't be able to. Brother, I've done like 3 in a day, so relax. It's possible when you're hungry, alright? So just don't be a dickhead. 2, 3 off plans a week, alright, that's fine. Again, the least the better, so you can get faster progress, right? Then, whoopsie, training. So you want to be training 3 to 5 times a week in the gym. Train to failure, 2 to 3 sets per exercise. Keep the rep range between 8 and 15 for 80% of your sets. For 10%, 6 to 8, another 10% for 15 to 20. At the moment, right now, I do not have any exercise where I'm doing below 8 reps in my plan. None. Okay? So it's like between 8 and 15 most of the time, like 90%, 80%, and the remaining is 15 to 20. Only like some exercises, not all of them. Alright? Some sets, sorry. Now, my favorite training space is this. Like when a client signs up with me and they don't have a preference in terms of I really like this play and it's worked really well for me and I can tell that as well, I usually give them this play here depending on how many days they can train. So push-pull legs, if you can train 3 times a week, push-pull legs, delts, arms on the same day. If you can train 4 times a week, if you can train 5 days a week, it's push-pull legs, delts, arms, okay? If you want splits with the exact exercises, sets and reps, just DM me split on Insta at SuccinctPT and I'll send you some stuff, okay? For free. You ain't gonna pay me for that. Alright, I'm doing all of this for free. You think I'm gonna ask you to pay me for splits? Come on, bruv. Well, you can also keep using your same split if you like it and it works for you. So if you've been doing like a 6 day a week PPL or like an upper lower, I don't like it, but if it's been working for you and you quite like it, great. If you've been doing like a Arnold split, that's cool. If you've been doing like a full-on bro split, like this is like a tweaked bro split because you're doing, especially if you're training 4 or 5 times a week, you're doing delts and arms twice a week and the bigger muscles once. So if you're doing a proper bro split and it works for you and it's great, that is also fine. I don't mind that, okay? As long as it works for you. Every training split works as long as you train hard. That's the truth, okay? I enjoy this split the most. You do not have to change the training split based off if you're bulking or cutting. So I have had the same split basically. So at the start, let's say from most of the time I train 4 times a week. Recently the past 2-3 weeks I've been training 5 times a week. But in that time, like let's say the last 18 months, push-pull legs, delts, arms. This has been my training split. Every now and then I might change an exercise here and there, just because variety and not to shock the muscle. That's bullshit as well. But I'm getting bored of something or trying something different. Cool. But again, that doesn't happen every single session. That might happen every like 3-4 months. Okay. And then do not start doing lighter weights and higher reps because that is bullshit. Okay. Your goal during a cut. At the start, you can get stronger, maybe build a little bit of muscle, but towards the middle and the end, when you're trying to lose fat and you're trying to get really lean, your goal is to maintain that muscle. Okay, if you start doing less weight but higher reps, there's 2 things that can happen. Because you're going lighter, you're going to lose muscle, right? And then because you're going to be overall a little bit tired than usual, because I definitely say, sometimes you won't be able to like match the amount of reps. So if you're doing a little bit less reps, 8, 10, 12, 15, maybe 20 at times, that'll be easier to maintain. If you do like 30 reps, that's just, it's just long, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? What's the point? You're just going to get out of breath and you won't even reach failure because most of the time you won't, because you're going to stop when the muscle starts burning a lot instead of like actually going to failure. Alright, so keep the rep ranges the same. Alright. Then cardio. So 10,000 steps are a must for 99% of people. If you think 10,000 steps is hard, you're most likely a bitch, okay? Unless you've got like an office job and or maybe work from home and you're like sitting for like 15 hours a day, 12 hours a day. I've got some clients, right, who are in this position, but it's like, how many clients? I've got like 1 guy who's in this position. Everyone else don't get 10k steps unless there's like a valid excuse of this week was absolutely busy, this week I was ill, this week this happened or stuff like that. Cool. Unless something like that has happened, just tell them, yo, stop being a bitch, I know you can do it. Alright, just do it. Just get on with it. Alright. The more steps you do, the more calories you burn, the faster your progress is gonna be. So like don't come to me and be like, oh, you're being rude to me. I'm like, just telling you what works, alright? Start doing 60 minutes of low intensity cardio per week, at 120 to 140 BPM. So have your fitness tracker, make sure your heart rate's tracked there as well. You're doing cardio, 120 to 130 BPM. So this is low intensity. It doesn't get you really tired, doesn't fatigue you a lot, but it just helps you burn calories and keeps your heart healthy. Alright, so for example, 15 minutes 4 times a week, 20 minutes 3 times a week. Keeps your heart healthy, improves your cardio, helps you burn some calories, You can watch some Netflix as you're doing it, or like, I don't know, whatever you like doing, right? If you get to a point where weight is not dropping, okay, and you don't want to drop calories further, because you're like, you know what, like, my food is dropping quite a bit, and I'm starting to feel the hunger, and I don't really want to drop it more, then add another 15 minutes per week. No more, alright? Do that. Now, ideally, if you're doing cardio in the gym, right, like, I don't want you to get to more than like 2 hours a week overall in the week. That's just fucking sad. Alright, there's people who do it, maybe for a competitor if you need to do it, but most people here don't want to compete, right? So just don't be sad, right? Sometimes you may have to have the most I've given a client is 100 minutes a week. That's the most I've given them. Never got to 120, right? If you play other sports, that is great. This will help you. However, do at least those 60 minutes of gym cardio, alright? So maybe it's the cross trainer, maybe it's the rower, maybe it's the stairmaster, right? Ideally, stay away from the treadmill, not stay away, but like, don't treat the treadmill, even if it's incline as cardio. Just because when you're in a deficit, right, you're gonna get tired, especially when you, let's say you're training legs, right? Your recovery is gonna be a little bit slower because you're in a deficit, and then if you just keep walking on top, let's say you're doing 10k steps, but then you gotta do cardio, and all you do for cardio is treadmill, you're gonna be like 15k steps, 20k steps, whatever that is. Maybe not, but like, you know, let's say you do 12, 13k steps on average every single day. You have 15 minutes of treadmill, you might be on 15k. You do that every week, that every day. That's gonna be a lot of, what's it called? A lot of pressure-ish, like a lot of work to do for your legs. So just save them, because they might just be sore from walking a lot, and you won't be able to train hard on legs. And if you don't train hard on legs, your legs are gonna be smaller. All right. Really unlikely, but you know, let's reduce the chance of it. So me personally, I do cross trainer. Some people like stairmaster, some people like rower. So yeah, walking is not cardio. Like, you walk to. If I was to like go for a pace now, that's walking. I'm exercising now. All right. So walking is not cardio. It's good for you, but it's not cardio, and it's not exercise. It's something that you should just be doing as a human being. Okay. Supplements. So there is no special supplement that will help you burn more fat. Okay. Yes, caffeine can suppress appetite for a bit, but you don't want to become an addict, and you don't want to be drinking coffee at 9 o'clock in the evenings, and then you can't sleep, and then you don't sleep, and then the next day you wake up even hungrier, and then you haven't recovered, you lose your muscle, and everything goes to shit. All right. 1-2 coffees a day max. That's what I would say. Maybe you know what, you're really close to your goal, and this is the last week of your club. All right, maybe if you want to overdo it, cool, do it. But like, you know, 1-2 coffees a day, that should do. All right. So stick with the basic supplements. So creatine, protein powder, omega-3, multivitamin, vitamin. I don't know how you pronounce it. That one. Again, it's hard to give you like other supplements as well, because I'm gonna have to look at if you have deficiencies. Okay, if I've got a client and they've got specific issues, and maybe they got bloods as well, there's deficiencies in here, cool, I'll tell them, like, let's, you know, advise them, do this, maybe consider adding this in here. Okay. Now, if you're someone who's quite experienced, you train really hard, it would be worth using intra-workout amino acids, especially when cutting down, so EAAs, just because they will help you recover. It's almost like you're taking protein as you're training, so it helps you recover, so the next day you're not going to be as fucked up. And or intra-workout carbs, because maybe you need to eat a lot, so they help you get some calories, or maybe you just train super hard, you've got a lot of muscle and your sessions are quite hard, and then that'll help. They will help you towards in your training as well, so your training performance stays good and you don't lose muscle. Alright? Important point. When making changes, one change at a time only. Let's say you're not dropping weight, do not drop food and increase cardio. That's stupid. Because it's not good. It's too much fuckery for your system. Okay? Because if you keep doing that, right, you're gonna get to the end, like not even to the end, like midway through, and you're gonna be doing so much cardio, eating only a little bit of food. It's not worth it. Just make one change at a time. All right. Sometimes I do have clients, and I might is rare. I might make more than one change, but I understand. I've got experience. A lot of people that are coaches yet don't quite understand very well. So one change at a time does it, and most of the time that's what I do as well with clients. Then getting to 10% body fat, it's hard if you never got to here before. If you never got to like 10%, it's really hard. So expect to be hungry and expect to be tired. Being hungry and being tired means it's working, means you're in a deficit. Okay, it's normal, expected. Your gym numbers will most likely drop as well, but it shouldn't be by too much. Okay, let's make an example. Let's say you're doing a flat dumbbell press with 30 kilos, 12 reps. That was you, like at the start of the cut. By the end of it, you might get to 9 reps, same weight. So it's not going to be a lot. So if you're at the top of a rep range, let's say 8 to 12, you might get to the bottom of the rep range, but still the same weight. All right. And let's say you were at the bottom of a rep range with a specific weight. Okay, the weight might drop to the next. For example, you're doing 30 kilos for 8, you might drop to 28 kilos, and you're doing between 8 and 12. All right. So you will get weaker, but not by that much. And a lot of the weakness will come from you being less heavy. So there's less mass to push. Less weight to move weight. At the start, you will feel skinny and fat. That is because you have less water in your muscle because you have got less carbs, so your muscles will look a little bit flatter. And you haven't dropped enough body fat to see the definition. So every single time I go through a cut, and a client goes through a cut as well, and if they're like, suck out, look worse, I'm like, relax. This is happening because you have less water in your muscles and you haven't lost enough body fat to see the definition. Give it, 4, 6, 8 weeks, all right? Usually 4 weeks is enough to see some progress if you do it right. Now, if you're having 1 to 2 cheat meals a week, sometimes even 3, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't go more than 2 most of the time. Most likely, you will not need a refeed, okay? You will not need it because most of the time, you're probably going to go over, right? Because if you're like, your meal is 500 calories, who the fuck is having 500 calories of like fast food? It's nothing, right? So probably gonna have more. And again, it's hard to track anyway, so you're probably gonna be over most of the time. If you're completely sticking to a plan, day in and day out, there will be times you need a refeed. But however, this is person dependent, so I cannot tell you when to have a refeed and how much to eat in the refeed. I'm sorry, like I need to have your data in front of me, your physique in front of me, not in front of me, but on the monitor. I need to see it for you to tell you, and this is very person dependent. Okay, some people can have loads of refeeds, you know what I mean, and they're still looking better, they keep getting leaner. Some people, they don't need them for weeks, sometimes ever. Okay, just because you're a little bit hungry and tired, that does not mean you're a refeed. This is normal, expect it, because you're in a deficit, you're going to be a little bit tired, you're going to be a little bit hungry. Keep the same training split, as I said before. Track data, your weight every single day, your energy levels, your digestion levels, your well-being, your sleep, your appetite, your gym numbers, and your steps. If you don't have data that you're tracking, when it comes to making changes, because you haven't made progress, you don't know what to change, right? Maybe, you drop your food, but then you're doing 7K steps a day. The wiser choice would be keep food the same, but get to 10K steps a day, okay? Let's say that, your digestion hasn't been great, therefore you're a little bit more bloated and you're not dropping weight. A lot of people, what they will do, increase cardio or drop food. Maybe you're holding on to more food because your digestion hasn't been great, so that's why you're heavier. Some days I've weighed myself, cool, taken a shit, weighed myself again, and I've dropped a kilo or kilo and a half, sometimes even 2. All right, so track these numbers. Then be consistent, rinse and repeat. Is boring, but this is what it is. You just have to be consistent, okay? Then, if you want to make this slightly easier, slightly hire a coach. It's still going to be hard, but you have someone who can do the thinking for you, and all you have to do is execute. You're not going to be in your head too much. You're not going to think, I'm not doing the right amount of steps, I'm not doing the right amount of cardio, am I training hard enough, am I doing the right amount of training, am I eating enough, am I eating too little, am I eating too much? All that brain fuckery is going to go because you're a coach, and that's how you do this, and you just go and do it, execute it. Obviously, you can ask questions to understand why we're doing this, so you understand as well. And for the future, when you stop working with a coach, you know what to do by yourself, right? Then, you might fail. It's normal. If you've never been, let's say 15% body fat below, especially 10%, you may fail because this is hard and you've never been here before. If you haven't done something before, there's a likelihood that you will fail. Maybe the leanest you ever go was 15%. You do this approach, you get to, let's say, 12%, and then you fail. Cool, you got leaner than you got last time, so just try again, right? And again, when it comes to like this, body fat percentages and stuff like that, right? Don't get too obsessed over like this percentage. These are like, there's no exact tool that you can use to guess if you're 10%, all right, or be exact, because you could do an MRI or like a DEXA scan one day, and you do it the next day, and it might be different. You could do calipers. Calipers is so easy to get wrong with because you can just clip a different part of your body, so it's hard, right? Just go by visuals. If you're generally happy, if you do this cut and you're generally happy with the leanness you got to, cool, you can end it there. Maybe you're 12%, maybe you're 11, maybe you're 13. But if you're happy, okay, you can end it there. If you don't want to keep suffering more, cool, that is completely fine. All right, you're not a bodybuilder. You don't have to suffer. It's not like you have to jump on stage. No, if you're happy, cool, great, happy days. All right. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, share. Safe.